Okay. Hi, good day. My name is Dr. Rabindra Ramjattan, and I am an agricultural officer from the Research Division of the Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries. Welcome to my PowerPoint presentation, in which I will be discussing the activities conducted by the Coconut Union. Myself, the Technical Officer Research Prop, Mr. Deodat Sigobin, who will also be assisting with the presentation. So by my watch, it is 12 o'clock, and this means that it is lunchtime. So I would now invite you to sit back, relax, have your lunch, and enjoy this very interesting presentation that we have planned for you. Okay, so just an outline of what will be discussed. A brief history, description, and importance of coconuts, the different varieties of coconuts, the present situation as relates to coconut production, the demand for both coconut water and coconut powder, the factors affecting seedling production, the gaps preventing progress of the coconut sector, the rationale for the work of the coconut unit, the general and specific objectives of the research work of the coconut unit, and the activities conducted by the coconut unit, and then a brief summary of what was discussed. So the scientific name for coconut is cocoa. There's a certain variety referred to as a hybrid variety, and this is a cross between a tall and a dwarf variety, as well as a dwarf variety. Coconut is monoecious. This means it has both male and female flowers in the same plant. Coconut is referred to as a tree of life because the entire plant can be utilized from the trunk straight up to the branches. Just a brief history. Coconut originated in Indo-Malayan region, and then it spread across to the tropics. Fossil remains have indicated that the plant had evolved as far back as 20 million years ago. When the Europeans arrived in the Pacific in the 19th century, this signaled commercialization of the plant, and the first oil to ever appear in world trade was coconut oil, and that marks a milestone for coconut, right? There are many diverse uses of coconut, right? And that's why it is very important. And that is why it is referred to as a tree of life. The main use is for coconut water. It can also be used to produce coconut creams, coconut powder. The shell can be used to make bowls, jewelry, and cups. The coconut tester is utilized a lot in the processing industry. The coconut fiber can be used to make baskets and ropes, as well as the very used coconut cord as used as a planting media. The coconut milk is very nutritious and healthy, and coconut oil can be used for the cooking as well as a skin moisturizer. And because of its very extreme and important uses, the 2nd of September globally is celebrated as World Coconut Day. I will now describe Malayan dwarf. This variety is characterized by having different colors, such as being yellow, red, and green. It is self-pollinated. Its height is 8 to 10 meters. It bears in 3 to 5 years. Its lifespan is 30 to 40 years. It does not have a bowl, and the bowl is the sunken area at the base of the soil. Yeah, and its main use is for water. The Atlantic tall, and this is the variety that you would normally see at the shorelines and at the beaches. You know, the varieties that the trees that you normally park below when you visit the beach for shade. And a fallen nut from one of those trees can do significant damage to someone's windscreen and dashboard, right? In fact, I have seen firsthand the damage that can be done to someone from the fallen nuts of one of those trees, right? So the characteristics of the Atlantic tall variety are: it is cross-pollinated, it has different colors, its height is greater than 25 meters, it bears in 6 to 7 years, its lifespan is 60 to 65 years, it has a bowl, right? It's used mainly for copra and oil. hybrid variety, and this is a cross between the Malayan dwarf and the Atlantic tall. It has different colors, such as being green, yellow, and reddish brown. It is cross-pollinated, and as a result, it is variable in height, bearing, and lifespan, depending on the varieties crossed with. It has a bowl and is used mainly for water, copra, as well as oil. The extra dwarf variety is characterized by having different colors, such as being green, yellow, orange, bronze. It is self-pollinated. It has a height of 8 to 10 meters. It bears in 2 years. It has a lifespan that is similar to the dwarf variety. It does not have any bowl and is used mainly for water. All right. So in the past, there was a negative image of coconut oil and coconut products, and that had led to a lot of the coconut producers abandoning their coconut plantations, and that led to the buildup of pests and diseases. However, presently, many individuals are now paying particular attention and to what they eat. They are now being a lot more health conscious, right? And as a result, coconut is now being promoted as a healthy alternative, right? The demand for coconut has increased, and the demand is now greater than the supply. The demand for coconut water stems from 3 main reasons. Firstly, it has a refreshing taste. It tastes good, right? And that's the basic rule, is that if something tastes good, it's going to sell, right? There's a rising demand also because of the, as I had mentioned before, for the need for a healthy diet and the benefits that can be obtained from coconut water. And also because of medical reasons. Many medical doctors have recommended to the patients the use of coconut oil in order to treat certain ailments. In fact, the benefits of coconut oil, of the benefits of coconut water include, it contains minerals, vitamins, electrolytes, it alkalizes the system, it aids in digestion, it helps with diabetes, it is antibacterial and also antifungal. Did you know that in the Second World War, where blood plasma was limited, coconut water was utilized as a blood as a substitute? So in the event that there is an emergency and drips is needed, you can use coconut water. This histogram shows the U.S. coconut water market size by form for both coconut water and coconut powder, and is in US millions of dollars. It shows it is from 2016 and projected up to 2027, and it shows that there will be a steady increase in demand for both coconut water as well as coconut powder. And this reiterates why it's the best opportune time in order to get involved in coconut research to improve coconut production, in order to capitalize on this very lucrative and profitable market. So as a result, many individuals are trying to get involved in seedling production. However, they are facing certain limitations. So the factors affecting seedling production are: genetic superiority is not often considered in selection, and at times is very often overlooked, right? So when making seed nut selection, you have to pay particular attention to the parents that you are selecting from, to ensure that they have the desired features or the characteristics that you are looking for. For example, high yields, improved quality water, right? Large nut size. Secondly, information on the ideal media ratio for seed nut cultivation is lacking. Farmers do not usually cultivate seed nuts using seed beds. They would cultivate on the ground. However, if a seed bed is used, you can get improved germination, right? However, there's limited information on the type of media to be used for the seed beds, as well as the ratio of the media to be used as well. Thirdly, irrigation system usage is limited in cultivation. Farmers do not irrigate, or they hardly irrigate their coconut seedlings, right? But if irrigation is utilized or is controlled, you can get improvement in your germination, right? But right now, what is limiting is information with respect to the different type of irrigation systems and the amount of irrigation that is required for these seed beds. Lastly, pests and diseases often limits productivity, right? The objective is to obtain seed nuts that are free from pests and disease. However, if these seed nuts have pests and disease, This would mean that they will have weak growth and germination, which will in turn lead to weak yield and production. What are the gaps affecting the progress of the coconut sector? Firstly, there's limited accessibility to superior genetic planting material or germplasm, right? And that accounts for farmers having very poor yields, right? And unless superior genotypes are given to farmers, only then can the yield and production be improved. There's need for proper characterization and evaluation of the varieties. So this is essential in order to select and determine the varieties that are deemed to be superior. And these varieties will then be multiplied and distributed to the farmers for yield improvement. Thirdly, there's need for plant breeding to develop new varieties. In comparison to other crops such as cocoa and recently hot peppers, there have been a lot of work being taken place in plant breeding. However, in comparison to coconuts, there's very limited breeding activities taking place. And unless this is developed, only then can superior genotypes be made available to the farmers for yield improvement. There's limited availability of model production systems in order to teach farmers about efficient coconut production, as well as for them to adopt and have improvement in the yields and farm production. So the rationale for the work of the coconut unit is to improve coconut production and efficiency, all right? So this can be achieved by giving advice to farmers on the problems that they experience and how they can overcome these problems in order to have improvement in their production, as well as by distributing superior genetic planting material to these farmers, to reduce farm cost of production by developing improved technologies that would significantly reduce the budgetary expenses that have to be incurred by the farmers, promote environmentally friendly agriculture so that there will be minimum effect on the ecosystems, promote investment in coconut farming. So we would want less individuals leaving the coconut industry and have a greater amount of individuals entering the coconut industry, especially getting the youth involved, right? But so we will have to show them how profitable and lucrative the industry can be once it is properly monitored and conducted, right? And in that way, we can get a greater number of individuals involved in coconut production. The general objectives of the coconut unit are: number one, to acquire, conserve, characterize, and evaluate a diverse, representative, and well-created field collection of coconut germplasm. So what this means is we want to have a genetically diverse germplasm available for research activity, such as plant breeding, agronomic evaluations, as well as for post-harvest laboratory evaluations. Two, to develop innovative research programs that are beneficial to coconut farmers. So it would not make sense doing a research project if the farmers don't benefit, right? So when developing our research programs, we take into consideration the problem being faced by the farmer. And at the end of our research, we try to solve this problem. And this photograph here shows the different colors of the coconuts that we have of the research station tree to provide technical assistance for farmers and research institutions. So for this objective, we would give advice to the farmers on any problems that they may be experiencing and require assistance, such as information with respect to soil management, land preparation, post-harvest handling. And we also do work, we have collaborations with academia that is very similar to the work that we do, such as UE, UTT, CADI, NIHERS. And the fourth objective is to disseminate knowledge on the innovations and techniques for improved coconut production. So at the end of our research, we would hold workshops, seminars, hold meetings with the relevant stakeholders. We also distribute fact sheets and brochures on the research findings and on the technologies that can lead to improvement of the yields of the coconut production with specific emphasis on tender water. So this means we would target certain varieties for water production and do research work in order to improve these varieties, such as improvement in yield, improvement in nut size, improvement in water volume, improvement in water quality, right? The second specific objective is to identify and introduce superior varieties that are economically viable for the farming community. So when I say economically viable, I mean profitable for them to grow, right? In terms of ease of harvesting, resistance to pests and diseases, right? So the third specific objective is to train farmers on proper growing coconut practices. So basically to distinguish the do's from the do-nots and the practices that they must adopt in order for efficient and effective coconut production. I will now proceed to discuss the activities conducted by the coconut unit. First activity, project 1, is called the collection and characterization of superior seed nuts. The objectives of this project is to collect superior planting material, and this would be collected from farmers' fields as well as from our own germplasm. Upon collection, these superior seed nuts would then be properly characterized and evaluated. The nuts deemed to be superior would then be multiplied, and from then they would then be sent to the Agricultural Services Division for sale, as well as we would also select and superior seed nuts to farmers. So the methodology by which these objectives are achieved are: firstly, superior mother palms would have to be identified, right? Upon identification, the superior seed nuts would then be harvested. They will then be characterized and evaluated both at the morphological and for biochemical traits, right? Upon data analysis, the nuts deemed to be superior would then be selected and mass multiplied at research division and then distributed to selected farmers, and also sold at the agricultural research at the services division. So some of the morphological descriptors that we would record are the fruit length and circumference in centimeters, fruit weight, kilograms, the jelly percentage, the kernel thickness, and the husk percentage. Some of the biochemical traits recorded include the turbidity, pH, total solids, tritatable acidity percentage, crude protein content, liquid endosperm content, which is the coconut water, sugar or bricks content. This slide here, the superior seed nuts are identified. They are then carefully harvested and then cleaned and washed, right? After which they would then be laboratory characterized. This slide here shows some of the post-harvest work that is involved. The water is carefully removed, and then it is analyzed. Also, the jelly or the solid endosperm is also removed, and I've done characterization of 45 coconut accessions. That's morphological characterization. We have identified superior accessions, and these are to be future researched, right? The second project that we're involved in is entitled the establishment and maintenance of a model seed garden. So when we refer to as a seed garden, this is also known as a seed bed, right? And this is a photograph of one of the seed beds we have here at the research division. Each seed bed is rectangular in shape. It is of length 47.5 feet and has a width of 4.5 feet. Each seed bed can hold 216 mature seed nuts. There's a spacing of 1 square foot utilized in the seed bed between the seed nuts. The media utilized for growing of the seed nuts is chicken manure with shavings and topsoil in the ratio of 1 to 2 to 1. So this slide here shows the seed garden nursery area. It is comprised of both open seed beds and covered seedbeds. And presently, we are making plans to have the entire area covered for seed nut germination and growth. This next slide shows how the seed beds are prepared. All right. Firstly, the seed beds are properly cleaned and washed and sterilized. Secondly, the nuts are then placed into the seed beds, right? They would be harvested green at approximately about 11 months old, right? They would then be allowed to dry, and they are allowed to dry for a period of 7 to 8 months, upon which you would have successful germination, right? So the objective of Project 2 is to provide a model seedbed for farmer learning and demonstration. So this basically means to show them that using the seedbed, you can get much more effective growth and germination. So it is to show them the importance of the use of the seedbed. To provide a suitable method for seed nut cultivation, right? So this is also to show the farmer that you will get increase in the germination rate by the use of the seedbed. To propagate seed nuts for farmer distribution. So after we have germinated these seed nuts, certain farmers will be selected and these seed nuts would be distributed to them. To provide a medium for research activities. So in addition to providing germplasm for distribution, it must be reminded that we are on a research station. So we conduct research activity, right? We would take data, right? This data would then be analyzed and interpreted during the growth and development of the seed nuts. So the methodology by which these objectives are achieved are: firstly, the seed bed would have to be prepared, as mentioned before. The seed nuts would then be collected, and the seed nuts would be prepared by dipping them in a fungicide. They would then be placed into would be monitored and maintained, and we would also do characterization of the sprouted seed nuts. Upon successful germination, these seed nuts would then be distributed and sent to certain selected farmers, as well as sent to the services division for sale to the general public. So this slide here shows the different stages that involve in the germination of the seed nuts. Firstly, superior monopalms would have to be identified. The seed nuts would then be harvested. All right, they would then be evaluated and characterized at the post-harvest laboratory. The seed nuts would then be placed into the seed beds for the drying process, right? And then upon successful germination, the seed beds, seed nuts would then be distributed to farmers. Project 3, this is entitled the Training of Coconut Growers on Agronomic Practices. The objectives of this project is to educate coconut growers about the proper methodologies for efficient coconut production, basically to show them the do's from the do-nots and the crop production practices that they must implement for efficient production, to address and solve farmer limitations that they may be experiencing, and to promote environmentally friendly agricultural practices so there's minimal effect on the ecosystems. And the methodology by which these objectives are achieved are: firstly, we would conduct regular field visits to the coconut growing areas, to the coconut farmers. We would do a survey to assess what are the present problems they are experiencing that is limiting their production. And then we would conduct farmer training sessions based on the problems identified and also on the methods for improved production. The areas such as land preparation and field establishment, the proper cultural practices that must be implemented for efficient production, the post-harvest handling of the nuts. This is a photograph of a farmer whom we had met during our field visits. The achievement for Project 3, right, include over 60 farmers have been trained. We have established a farmer database, and this is presently and currently being updated. We have distributed fact sheets to coconut farmers as well as to the general public. And this is a photograph of a farmer here with a very high yield. And by the expression on his face, he looks very happy from his harvest. So this slide shows the different steps involved in the training of the farmers. Firstly, well, we have the distribution of fact sheets on the proper cultural practices and agronomic practices that must be implemented. We have field days in which farmers are taught the proper practices that must be implemented in order for efficient yield and production. We hold meetings with farmers. This is in order for them to get a forum in order to voice their concerns about problems that may be affecting their production, and we would give feedback on how these problems can be overcome. To the farmers in order for certain practices to be implemented. So the coconut unit is to maintain and conserve indigenous coconut genetic resources. All right, so this is to show that we always have coconut germplasm for research activity to increase the availability of superior coconut planting material, and this is achieved by the initiation of plant breeding activities to improve farmer yield and quality, right? This is achieved by the distribution of superior seed nuts to the farmers in order for their production to be improved. And last but not least, to combat the farmer limitations, and so to give advice to the farmers on how their crop production practices can be improved. So this brings me to my final slide. Feel free to contact us. We are located at the Research Division, Carolyn Road, Road, Centennial. You can contact us at 646-433-527, or you can email theocrops ces@gmail.com, or you can also email for any information with respect to pests and diseases, ento-laboratory@gov.tt. All right. I would like to say a very special thanks to all of those of you all who spent your lunch hour with us. I trust that it was very nutritional and healthy, and that coconut was somewhere involved there. And I would also like to say a special thanks to all of those who participated and attended this seminar. I trust that it was very informative and educational. And I would like also to say a very special thanks to the director of this research division, Ms. Albada Bikam, as well as to the technical officer crops, Mr. Devdat Sigovin, for their tremendous guidance and support. Right. So this brings us now to the question and answer segment of the presentation. So I now invite you to submit all of the questions that you may want answered with respect to my presentation, as well as with respect to coconuts and coconut production.
Like so.
Yeah, these questions. All right. We try to get as much of those nuts that we set to germinate. So I should think we should 25 to 30 seed nuts. All right, our second question is, what are the best soil conditions for growing coconuts? What pests do you have to look out for and how? Okay, so the best soil conditions is you look for fertile, loamy soil, right? And you would want to have free drainage, right? What pests do you have to look out for? Well, some of the pests that we have are the coconut palm weevil. Skill to start a coconut farm for water. Well, large number of nuts available to be sold by the ministry.
Also, that the Agri Services Division at Mapa Farm, they now have started to sell seedlings, but it will be in small quantities. So if you want to do some kind of paper,
I also read about a growing technique that allows trees to cross with each other. All right, when you say a growing technique, I'm trying to understand what it is this business, because in plant breeding, right, you can do crosses, right, and develop new varieties. That is how the hybrid was developed, right? Is there approximately opportunity for importing seedlings from other countries, say India or Guyana, for a private farmer?
So we have a department at the research division called the Quarantine Sanitary Certificate. No, I know first can't import anything, right? But start the process there. There's an online portal that you could go into, or plant quarantine department, and you can start the process through there.
All right, so again, I would like to say a very special thanks to all those of you all who had taken the time and spent your lunchtime with us, and as well as to all those who attended the seminar. I hope that the information during the seminar, as well as during the answer and question segment, was very informative, and that it had answered all of the questions that you had in terms of the coconut production. And remember, you can also at the Caroni North Bank Road in St. Tem. Again, it was indeed a pleasure. Right. Again, it was indeed a pleasure. So on behalf of myself and my technical officer of research clubs, very much for this opportunity to present about the activities conducted by the coconut unit. Okay. Thank you.
Right. I just wanted to say one thing is that whilst this session was about the agronomy of coconuts, I just want to say we do have a unit at the research division called the entomology unit, and they will see about the pests and the disease part of it. So if you have inquiries about pests and disease, etc., please contact them, liaise with them. They will liaise back with you and probably make a visit if you have situations, right? So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.